Hello, this is Artemis_anime, and today I'm reading Aizawa and His Kitten Son by sleepyoongs. Summary: Aizawa, while on patrol, finds an abandoned kitten. Aizawa hoped things would be relatively simple while raising said kitten, but when did things ever go his way? Or, can't quirk Izuku, because I desperately need more quirk Izuku. Plus Dadzawa. There's always room for Dadzawa. Eraserhead was on his way home from an exhausting patrol when he first heard it. The quiet, mewing sounds of someone or something in distress. The Eraser hero could practically feel his bones aching and calling for the sweet relief of a nice, cold shower before he collapsed into his bed. But, of course, his heroic mind wouldn't simply let him walk away from the person in need, even if he was off duty. Giving a relentless sigh, Eraserhead took a turn into the dark, dingy alleyway. By habit, the hero's nose crooked up from the disgusting smells of the alleyway that roamed around the air. The smell of urine, of beer, of the sweet iron and metallic smell of blood mixed all together to make a nauseating scent within the air. Though Eraserhead had experience of swallowing down the gagging bile that rose in his throat as his stomach kicked and churned in disgust. As Eraserhead approached closer to the sound, he could hear the gentle mews and soft cries turn louder. The thing that was making the crying sounds was covered by a flimsy cardboard box that was soggy with the garbage juice that flowed onto the ground. Eraserhead, ignoring the straining pain in his knees, bent down to the ground and slowly tore away the dirty box off the poor creature. Right off the bat, Eraserhead could tell that the poor thing was a cat, and it was still fairly young, small and fluffy, but its fur was matted down by all the nasty grime sticking to it. Of course, Eraserhead, doing the sensible thing, gently used his capture weapon to wrap the kitten up in a protective bind until he made his way back to his apartment. Cleaning up the kitten was surprisingly easy for Aizawa. He expected the kitten to put up a fuss, but almost in a toddler-like wonder, the kitten was fascinated by the water and played in it peacefully as Aizawa washed the dirt out. Now that the kitten was cleaned and apparently content as he, Aizawa soon learned that it was a male, laid curled up into a tiny fluff ball on the hero's lap. Aizawa could examine the little thing better, and examine he did. The kitten was a ragdoll cat that had a duo color pattern of seafoam green and gray. The seafoam green was what traveled through most of his fur, besides a patch of light gray that traveled down his chest to his belly and paws. The kitten also had big, bright, and beautiful emerald eyes that were almost like porcelain, like with how they glistened and how glossy they were. Aizawa didn't know how to take care of a kitten, but he'll gladly do the research on what he needed to do. "Come on, kitty, you gotta get to the vet," the kitten hissed at him, with his tone taking on a soft whimper. Aizawa, for the last hour or so, had been trying to coax the kitten from the top of the bookshelf that he somehow managed to get up there with minimal effort. Aizawa knows he could simply use his scarf to get the kitten down, but trust was important between cats and owners, and Aizawa didn't want to force the kitten. He would rather be late than scare the poor thing more. "Please, kitty, I promise it won't be bad," Aizawa pleaded, and he swore he saw the kitten give him a dry, mirthless look as he started to crawl further away. Aizawa sighed to this action. Looks like he'll be putting off the appointment for another day. The kitten today must have been feeling more playful than usual, since Aizawa came back home from a light patrol to the sight of a kitten playing with one of his spare scarves. How the kitten had managed to even find and pull out one of the scarves in the middle of the living room floor was beyond Aizawa. The kitten was quite literally wrapped up in the scarf as he laid on his back with his paws in the air. His green eyes sparkled brighter as he scratched at the scarf and bit at it. Wow! The kitten aggressively did a flip back onto his legs as he took up to a pouncing position. Though it wasn't at the scarf. No, it was at Aizawa. With a flying blur, the kitten pounced onto his legs, with all his little legs curling up around Aizawa's leg, as he tried to bite the man. "Kitten," Aizawa said, with a deadpan, and all he got in response was a swipe of a kitten's paw trying to hit him. "Meow!" The kitten chirped as Aizawa was trying to focus on the boring reports he had to fill out. Kitty, we can snuggle and play all you want later, if you let me finish this now, Aizawa boredly said to the needy kitten, who gave a low growl. The kitten had better ideas, and thought it would be a wonderful idea to casually scroll across the desk where Aizawa was trying to work at. Meow! Once again, the kitty cried, as a paw, in a swift motion, knocked off the papers that were on the desk and to the floor. Aizawa paused as he stared at the kitty, who took to quietly purring while he nudged his fluffy face onto Aizawa's cheek. Okay, fine, you get cuddles now, you little demon. Okay, kitty. Growls started to rumble as Aizawa started to draw closer. We're gonna go to the vet, and you're gonna love it. I can't push it back again. It's the third time already, Aizawa said softly as he reached out to grab the upset feline who was in the corner and looked ready to attack. Though Aizawa wasn't truly worried, he was used to being scratched and bit by his kitten. Ow! The kitten hissed as Aizawa lifted up the small one into his arms. There was a bit of thrashing, a lot of growling and hissing, but there were no claws or attempts of the kitten trying to hurt him. Aizawa absolutely took the win as he shifted the angry and fussy feline into his capture scarf. That, at least, calmed the kitten down a bit. Well, Aizawa-san, it seems as if your cat is perfectly healthy, if a bit underweight, but overall healthy, and now up to date with his shots, the vet said, with a small grin as she held the quietly purring kitten. After a few minutes of being angry with Aizawa, apparently the kitten wasn't one to stay mad long. Kitty took to snuggling Aizawa during the ride to the vet instead of trying to fuss the whole way. Aizawa was extremely grateful for that. I did find him in an alleyway about a week ago. I've been trying to take good care of him. And you've done good, the vet said, as she gently handed the sleeping cat to Aizawa. Have you thought of any names for the small one yet? It's completely fine if you still want to call him Kitty, although it's always nice to have an original name. Aizawa stayed silent as he peered down at the curled up fur ball that was on his lap. Names. He wasn't good with them, but he wanted to give the little kitty a good one, rather than something silly. Izuku. Yeah, Izuku. Aizawa wasn't sure what made him pick that name of all names. It wasn't a special name, nor had he heard the name around before. In fact, the name was a bit generic, and his kitty was anything but generic. But when Aizawa thought about names for the kitten, Izuku felt right, as if anything else that was the kitten's name would be incorrect. And Aizawa? He wasn't one to ignore his gut instincts, even if they didn't make much sense at the time. Izuku, huh? How oddly fitting, the vet soon spoke up, and Aizawa couldn't help but smile. Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, look at Shou's Kitten Son! Yamada squealed as the kitten who was in Aizawa's arm gave a low hiss at the voice hero and bit towards the finger that was rudely pointed in his face. Ah! Yamada once again squealed when he felt the sharp teeth of Izuku bite down on him. Izuku, we don't bite nasty things. Spit out the finger. Aizawa swore he saw his cat pout when he released Yamada before grumbling, "Meow," was heard in a small strike of defiance. Oh, Shou! Your kitty is feisty! How hot! Kayama said with a small smile as she reached out to pet Izuku, but of course she was smart enough to let Izuku come to her hand after sniffing her. Izuku purred lightly at the ear scratches as he leaned into Kayama's touch with a blissful tail wag that thumped against Aizawa's chest. What? How? Yamada questioned as he watched the kitten melt into Kayama. Izuku is a sucker for scratches. He tried to bite me when I tried to give him scratches. He bites me all the time. You'll live, Zashi, Aizawa plainly and dryly says as he allowed Kayama to give Izuku into his arms and continued to give the happy kitten head pats. Izuku, did you knock over my coffee? Aizawa wasn't sure why he was asking the kitten when clearly Izuku did, but the kitten just gave a faux head tilt to the question. Wow. And Aizawa translated that into, what coffee? The eraser hero could only sigh as he went to get some towels, though as soon as he rounded the corner, he heard a crash and the high-pitched meow of a cat. Aizawa kept walking. Aizawa just wanted a shower, but Izuku thought otherwise. The little kitten followed him into the bathroom, and when Aizawa turned on the water, Izuku thought it was time to play. Aizawa now had a new scratch to add to his collection of bites and scars due to being suddenly attacked by Izuku. Izuku, no, come on, kitty. Ow. I want a shower, please. Aizawa had placed Izuku outside of the bathroom door before he had shut it, hoping that it would bring some sort of peace. He was wrong. Izuku scratched his door up, crying loudly until Aizawa had let the kitten in. At least Izuku didn't attack him this time, but rather was curled up by the tub and waited patiently until his shower was over. Izuku was home alone, which wasn't that unusual, especially during the night when his human would go out for his hero work. Though what was unusual was when Izuku heard the clicking of the door, but yet the scent that filled the home wasn't his human. It wasn't even Kayama or Yamada who occasionally made rounds to his home. No, there was someone who was intruding, and Izuku growled lowly and went to see who dared step foot into his territory. It was some no-named robber who was doing a poor job of trying to be a villain. They were too loud, too obvious, and the lack of experience showed well enough that it made Izuku roll his own eyes. Though the kitten paid no mind to this, instead, he crouched, held his position, and with a feral rumble ripping through him as he sighted his prey, and pounced. Aizawa was expecting to come home to a lot of things after patrol. His couches and carpets torn up because his kitten was a hyperactive little shit? Most definitely. His kitten sleeping in his cabinets? Aizawa expected to see it again after the third time of walking in on it. He even expected to see his kitten in the midst of playing with his capture scarves, despite Aizawa always re-hiding them. The kitten could always find them when he truly wanted them. But never did Aizawa expect to come home to see Izuku sitting on top of a man who was comatose and scratched up so badly in the face it was hard to tell just who was in his home. Izuku, did you take out this man? Aizawa tiredly asked as he continued to walk into his home. Wow! Was the only reply he got as Izuku took to licking his bloodied claws. Aizawa wasn't awake enough to deal with whatever bullshit transpired. Izuku clung to Aizawa after the break-in, which the hero learned was just some low-level criminal he put away a few days ago for stealing some gum. The man was not happy with having a warning and having to actually pay for the gum instead of going to jail. Though it would be expected that Aizawa would have a few enemies here and there within the world, he was a hero after all. Izuku seemed to understand this, and his kitten became fiercely protective over him. The only people that Izuku seemed to like anymore, that wasn't him, were his friends. Well, his friend. Kayama is his second favorite human. Yamada, the voice hero, wasn't even near being a favorite of Izuku, or even a likable person to be around. The two were making progress to a nice relationship, until Yamada accidentally stepped on Izuku's tail. Needless to say, the kitten can hold a grudge if he truly wanted to. And to be honest, Aizawa finds it hilarious to watch Yamada get nearly mauled by the kitten that's normally sweet. Normally. Izuku, you're still mad at me? Yamada cried as he tried to reach out and pet the top of Izuku's head. It was a bad move, and Izuku gave a warning hiss as he recoiled away from the touch. Tisk tisk tish, Sashi. Let the queen show you how it's done, Kayama said with a grin as she crouched down and held out a hand. Come on, Zu. Get your daily dose of ear scratches, Kayama called out to the kitten, who made a dash into Kayama's arms. The heroine easily scooped up the kitten and gave Izuku scratches behind the ears, just as promised. It's not fair, he loves you so much as a show, Yayama pouted like a child as he huffed. Kayama merely smirked in her own victory as she carried off the little kitty to another part of the home. Sho, tell your kitty to stop hating me, Yamada whined as Aizawa could only shrug in the distress of his friend. Izuku did as he pleases. Aizawa had no control over the cat. Izuku could always tell whenever his human was upset. He never liked it when Aizawa was sad or mad, though Aizawa rarely got mad and tended to be sadder. During these days, Izuku was quiet and tended to Aizawa as best he could, and during those days was no different. Aizawa was sitting on the couch, and he looked as if he was supposed to be doing paperwork, but his eyes told the feline Aizawa wasn't truly there.
His darkened eyes were clouded and his stare was blank at the wall. His mind was in another world that wasn't this one, and Izuku wanted to bring Aizawa back to this world. Izuku stepping up to the couch with a bit of a struggle. He is still small, and crawling his way onto Aizawa's lap, he gave the man a small nudge on his prickly cheek. "Daddy," Izuku softly mewed, and slowly the man's eyes trained down onto Izuku within a distant stare.
"Oh, Izuku. Hey, kitten. Is everything okay? Are you hungry?" Aizawa asked, and the tone of his voice was worn down and tired.
"No! You okay?" Izuku tried to ask, but he knew it came out as senseless, high-pitched sounds. Though strangely a flash of recognition crossed across Aizawa's eyes as he smiled ever so slightly.
"You're worried about me?"
He asked slowly while his hands rubbed the top of Izuku's head gently. "Yes, is Daddy okay?" Izuku once again mewed as he nudged his furry cheek into Aizawa's prickly one. The man gave a breathless, dry laugh that sounded more like a huff than anything.
"I'm okay, kitten. It's just one of those days."
Izuku didn't like it when Aizawa had one of his days. It made the man look older than he was. It made him seem burnt out and broken. It scared Izuku, knowing he couldn't do anything more in the moment but softly rumble against his human as he licked away on Aizawa's face. It wasn't much, but Izuku would do the best he could to cheer up his human.
"Izuku, don't you dare."
"Wow!"
The mischievous kitten had moved his paw closer to the glass that was sitting on top of the counter. The glass was already so close to falling, and it would be a pain to clean up. The kitten seemed to understand this fact. "Izuku, I swear to God, if you—"
"Wow!"
The kitten ignored Aizawa and instead swiped his paw across the glass, knocking it down onto the floor. "You fucking little shit," Aizawa said in a huff as he stared at the now shattered glass with mild annoyance at the fact that he had to clean up the mess.
"Wow,"
was all Izuku said as he took the leap off the counter and left. Soft, painful mews filled the home of Aizawa. His kitten, Izuku, was currently laid out on the floor in pain, with his body in quivers and his tail lethargically hitting the floor. It terrified Aizawa to see Izuku in such a state, especially when it came out of nowhere in the middle of the night. The poor kitten had a fever, along with him throwing up any foods Aizawa had fed him within the last few hours. That terrified Aizawa more than ever. He wanted to wait until his vet opened, but seeing Izuku in distress, he packed his things and took the kitten to the local animal hospital. That he was grateful it was near. "This is strange," a veterinarian doctor said as she held a clipboard with the results of Izuku's latest testing. "Strange?" Aizawa questioned, and she gave a nod with a smile. The smile was encouraging, even a bit excited as she flipped the paper. "Izuku isn't sick, but rather, you could say he's having a development," she explained vaguely, and all Aizawa could do was narrow his eyes in weariness. "What do you mean, development?" "Oh dear, nothing bad, I promise. But think of it like this. Kids at the age of 4 through 5 are expected to get quirks, right?" A nod of the doctor had gained, and Aizawa was still on edge but was now mildly interested on what the lady was talking about. "Well, technically it's the same thing for animals, but it only happens to flu and almost never. We hardly have studies about it." Oh. Aizawa, he hopes he understands where this is going because it sounds like Izuku has a quirk. "It seems like you're catching up. I'll answer it for you, so you don't have to ask. Yes, Izuku has a quirk, but it's something we've never seen before in animals." "Okay." Aizawa took a breath as he stared over the sleeping kitten. Izuku was placed under a medical-induced slumber so the doctors were able to work more freely, and also so the kitten could get relief for a few hours. "What is his quirk?" "Well, if we're correct, it'll be a reverse, or basically, being able to be a human. How fun, right?" "Oh," was all Aizawa said before he saw the ground and darkness. "So the little one now has a quirk?" Yamada asked, as he softly gazed over at Izuku, who was curled into Kayama's lap. "Oh, I wonder what he'll look like as a baby. He's already so cute as it is," Kayama cooed as she scratched behind Izuku's ears, earning gentle rumbles from the kitten. "Oh God, you're gonna spoil him, aren't you?" Aizawa asked, taking a long and deep sip of his coffee. Absolutely, this is my kid now. Back off. Nemuri, you are my friend, but I will end you. Ha! Try it. The two of them settled on burning glares while poor Yamada was forced to watch the heated action in confusion.
Izuku felt off when he woke up that morning. Like usual, he went to Aizawa's bed and crawled into the man's side in the middle of the night when he finally felt tired and bored enough to do so. He felt fine when he did that, but now... Daddy! Izuku cried as he crawled into a ball using his hands to wrap firmly around his stomach that was aching and felt like a pit of fire was resting at the bottom of it.
Izuku? Aizawa murmured as he rolled over and was met with not a cat, but instead a child. Izuku? Aizawa breathlessly asked as the child tearfully stared up at Aizawa.
Daddy, it hurt.
If Aizawa mayhaps cried, and mayhaps even nearly fainted from hearing such words, well, no one needs to know. Okay. What hurts, Izuku? Aizawa could have his breakdown later. Now, he apparently has a son who was in pain, and Aizawa, while he can care for a cat, children are different.
Mommy, my tummy hurts.
Izuku murmured as he unraveled himself in Aizawa. He gave a gentle smile to hopefully ease his son. Okay, he can help with stomach pains. They were simple. He often had to take care of Nemuri with stomach pains, and at times Sasaki too when he got sick. He could do stomach pains. Okay, little one, let's go to the kitchen. I have some magic that'll work, Aizawa soothingly said, and the emerald green eyes of the little boy lit up like stars.
Magic?
Yes, and it's a secret. Don't tell anyone, okay?
Okay, Daddy.
Aizawa could only smile fondly at the young child. Aizawa informed the vet immediately, right after he took care of Izuku and his stomach pains. The vet told him they wanted Izuku to see a quirk specialist, seeing as he had a special case with an animal developing a quirk. They couldn't be too safe, and he, Aizawa, was inclined to agree.
Daddy, I'm
Tired, the little boy came up to Aizawa with green eyes drooping and peppery freckled cheeks puffed out before he gave a little smack to stay awake. Let's take a nap, okay? It'll be good for the both of us, Aizawa suggested as he lifted Izuku up into the air with no problems or complaints from the boy.
okay.
Izuku, don't bite Zashi. What have I said about that? Aizawa lightly chided the little boy, who was currently in his human form. Even in said form, he had his seafoam green ears and a tail and sharp teeth if his Zaki's loud screeches were to go by.
Yeah.
Izuku whined and mewed, but as the mostly good kitten he is, he let go of his Ashi. Oh my gosh, you are adorable. I love you, Kayama said with a small squeal as she scratched behind the boy's ears, earning a satisfied purr and mews from Izuku as his tail thwacked the floor in nothing but contentment.
Yeah, love me too.
Izuku said as he leaned into the hutch and dissolved into further louder purrs and rumbles. Please tell me how. Yamada was nearly in tears as he watched the boy flip over onto his back, allowing Kayama to also rub and scratch his belly. You stepped on his tail. You don't get a how. On accident, Yamada exclaimed. Daddy holds scratches, Aizawa murmured with a fond, doting smile crossing his lips as he watched his son start to lick and nip Kayama for more attention.
Daddy?
Izuku called out to the man as he hesitantly walked into Aizawa's room. Izuku wasn't used to being human, but Izuku was happy he had the ability to speak with Aizawa rather than the man trying to guess what he wanted. Yeah, Izuku? Aizawa asked gently as he lifted his head up from the pillow.
Sleep with you?
Izuku asked, once again in mild hesitation, though his hesitation and fear was for nothing. Aizawa smiled lightly as he scooted over and patted next to him. Izuku didn't waste any time diving next to Aizawa as he cuddled the man.
Love you, Daddy.
Izuku murmured into the man's chest, and he heard a soft huff as his green curls were ruffled with. I love you too, Izuku. And that is chapter 1 of Aizawa and His Kitten Son by sleepyoongs. There are 2 chapters in this story, and I thank you all for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye! Permission.